You are making it so easy for them to pull away, and you do not even know you are doing it. That is the terrifying part, because right now, somewhere in your relationship or almost relationship, you are doing at least one of these four things. And every single time you do it, you are handing that avoidant person the exact exit they were already looking for. But here is what nobody tells you. It is not about loving them less. It is not about playing games. It is actually about understanding something so specific about how their brain works that once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and your entire approach changes overnight. Stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is not the usual advice you find everywhere online. This is the stuff that actually matters when you are dealing with someone who runs the moment things get real. Before we get into it, I need something from you right now. Drop the word avoidant in the comments below. We are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. ND, we are genuinely not close yet. So if this kind of content speaks to you, hit subscribe right now and leave that word in the comments. It tells me you are here, and it tells me to keep making this for you. Okay, let us talk about avoidance. First, let us just be honest about what we are dealing with here. An avoidant person is not broken. They are not evil. They are not doing this to hurt you on purpose. They developed a very specific way of surviving emotionally. At some point in their life, probably early, they learned that depending on people, needing people, being vulnerable with people led to disappointment, led to rejection, led to feeling like too much or not enough. So they built walls, not because they do not want love, but because love feels like the most dangerous thing in the world to them. And now, here you are, trying to love someone who flinches every time love gets close. And you keep doing these four things. These four specific things that you probably think are he. Helping, that you probably think are kind and loving and reasonable. But they are doing the opposite of what you want. Let us go through them. The first thing you need to stop doing is over-explaining yourself to them. When something goes wrong between you two, or when they pull away, or when there is a moment of tension, what do? You explain, you justify, you make your case, you send the long message, you have the long conversation. You lay it all out so clearly and so logically, because surely if they just understood where you were coming from, they would come closer. But here is what actually happens in the mind of an avoidant when you do that. They feel pressure, not understanding, pressure. Because to an avoidant, an intense emotional conversation, even one where you are just trying to explain yourself, feels like being cornered. It feels like too much. It triggers something in them that says, get out, get out, get out, get out. And so they do. They go quiet. They shut down. And they pull back even further. And you are left there wondering what you did wrong when all you were trying to do was communicate. The problem is not that you communicated. The problem is how and when. An avoidant needs space to process. They do not do well with emotional intensity in real time. So, the more you explain, the more you justify, the more you unpack every little thing that happened, the more you are activating their need to escape. What you want to do instead is say less, way less than feels comfortable. This is genuinely hard if you are someone who processes verbally, someone who feels better when things are talked through. But with an avoidant, less words at the right moment do more than 1,000 words at the wrong one. Say what you need to say clearly and briefly, and then give them room to come to you, because they need to feel like coming to you is their choice. The second it feels like an obligation, they are already halfway out the door. Think about it this way. Why? Or cannot pull a cat towards you. The moment you reach out, it backs away. But if you sit quietly in the room, suddenly it comes and sits on your lap. You did not do anything. You did the exact right thing. You created the conditions for closeness instead of trying to force it. Now, that does not mean you become a ghost. It does not mean you never speak your truth. It means you learn the difference between expression and pressure. Expression says, here is where I am. Pressure says, you need to respond to where I am right now. Avoidance can handle expression. They collapse under pressure. The second thing you need to stop doing is rewarding their disappearing acts. And this one is painful because it comes from such a loving place. When an avoidant pulls away and then comes back, what do? You are so relieved that they are back that you welcome them with open arms. No questions, no friction. Maybe you go a little extra warm, a little extra available because you are so glad the tea. Nation is over, and it feels generous. It feels mature. You tell yourself you are not making it a big deal. You are being easygoing. But what you are actually doing is training them. You are teaching them at a subconscious level that disappearing costs them nothing. That they can leave the room emotionally or literally, come back whenever they feel like it, and be greeted with warmth and relief. That there are no natural consequences to their inconsistency. And so they keep doing it. Not because they are cruel, but because why would they change a pattern that has no cost attached to it? Now, I want to be really careful here because I am not telling you to punish them. I am not telling you to give them the cold shoulder or manufacture drama to teach them a lesson. That is not what this is about. What I am saying is that your life needs to keep moving whether they are present or not. When they disappear into their shell for a week and then resurface with a casual text like nothing happens. Ed, the version of you that has kept living, kept going out, kept being interesting, kept investing in your own world, that version of you is naturally less available. Not because you are playing a game, but because you actually were busy living. And that counterintuitively is what an avoidant finds attractive. Avoidants are drawn to people who do not need them. Not because they want to be with someone who does not care about them, but because someone who is full and alive and not waiting by the phone does not feel like a trap, does not feel suffocating, feels safe to move toward. The moment you make yourself completely available every time they come back, you remove the very thing that made them want to come back in the first place. Your life is not a waiting room for their emotional availability. And the moment you start treating it like one, you lose the plot entirely. So keep your plans, see your friends, work on your goals, do the thing you were going to do before they entered. Your world, not to make them jealous, but because that is who you actually are. And that person is worth coming back to. The third thing you need to stop doing is trying to get them to label things. Oh, this one is so common and so understandable and so counterproductive. You have been seeing each other for a while now. Things feel real. There is something there. You both know it, but it is undefined. And the undefined part is killing you. So you want to have the conversation. What are we conversation? What are we conversation? Where is this going conversation? You want a label, a commitment, a clear answer, because that would make you feel safe.
And here is the thing.
Your desire for clarity is completely reasonable. It is healthy. It is normal. People who want honest, direct communication are not needy. They are mature. But the timing and the energy around how you go after that label with an avoidant matters enormously, because an avoidant already spends a significant portion of their menta, L, and emotional energy managing their own fear of commitment. And the moment you come to them and say, what are we? Where is this going? I need to know. You just turned up the volume on all of that fear to maximum. Now, they are not just managing their natural resistance to closeness. Now, they are also managing your emotional need for an answer in this moment. And that combination is often too much. So they freeze, or they deflect, or they say something vague and unsatisfying, or they create distance to relieve the pressure. What actually works better is demonstrating over time that you have standards without making a single conversation feel like a make or break ultimatum. You do not need to ask, what are we? If you are already behaving like someone with clear values. If you naturally do not invest at a level 10 when someone is only showing up at a level 5, the conversation often becomes unnecessary because they step up to match you or they show you clearly that they will not. And then you have your answer. Not from a pressured conversation, from their actual behavior. Now, I do want to say this clearly. There is a time and a place to define a relationship. You should not date in undefined territory forever. That is not healthy either. But there is a difference between choosing the right moment from a place of calm confidence and issuing a desperate plea for a label that comes from anxiety. One creates movement, the other creates shutdown. And with an avoidant, anything that smells like an ultimatum, even a gentle one, will usually trigger their exit rather than their commitment. So you want to be someone who has standards visible through your actions rather than someone who delivers standards through anxious conversations. Let your life do the talking first. And when you do need to have that conversation, and sometimes you will, have it from your most grounded self, not from the version of you who has been spiraling for 3 days. The fourth thing you need to stop doing is making yourself the emotional center of their world. Now, This sounds counterintuitive. Is that not what love is? Is that not what intimacy looks like, being everything to each other? And for some people, yes, that kind of closeness is beautiful and sustainable. But for an avoidant, that dynamic is suffocating. And when someone feels suffocated, they leave every single time. Here is what I mean by making yourself the emotional center. It is when you are the one who is always initiating, always checking in, always trying to deepen the conversation, always reaching for more connection, more depth, more intimacy. You become the person pulling the relationship forward constantly while they stand still or take steps back. And the problem is not that you want those things. Those things are good things. Connection and depth and intimacy are worth wanting. The problem is the imbalance. Because when you are doing all the work to move things forward, you are removing the T. An avoidant actually needs to feel before they can open up, which is the experience of choosing to move towards someone. An avoidant has to feel like closeness is their idea. That is just the reality of their psychology. They cannot be dragged into intimacy. They have to walk into it with their feet, voluntarily, on their own terms and timeline. And when you are always the one pushing, always the one pulling the emotional weight, you are actually preventing them from having that experience. You are so busy trying to close the distance that you never give them the chance to notice the distance and want to close it themselves. This is one of the hardest things to sit with because it requires you to pull back, not because you do not care, but precisely because you do. You have to be willing to create space, real space, not as a manipulation tactic, but as an act of respect for how they function. And while you are creating that space, here is the crucial part. You need to actually be okay, not pretend okay, actually okay, because an avoidant can feel the difference instantly. They can feel when you are sitting in the silence, hoping and waiting for them to come to you. That energy is not neutral. It is pressure in disguise, and they respond to it the same way they respond to overt pressure, by moving away. But when you genuinely fill your own cup, when you genuinely have other things, other people, other sources of meaning and joy in your life, the space you create is clean, it is real, and it is often exactly the thing that makes an avoidant curious enough to move toward you. I want to take a step back now and talk about something that sits underneath all four of these things. Because if you are resonating with this, if you are sitting there thinking, yes, I do this, I did this, I keep doing this, I want you to ask yourself something honestly. Why are you working so hard? Not in a judgmental way, genuinely. Why are you doing these four things? Why are you overexposed? Planing and rewarding, disappearing and chasing labels and making yourself the emotional center of their world? And the honest answer for most people is fear. Fear that if you do not explain enough, they will misunderstand you and leave. Fear that if you are not warm enough when they come back, they will not come back again. Fear that if you do not nail down the commitment, they will drift away. Fear that if you do not hold the relationship together, it will fall apart. And here is what I want you to hear. That fear is information. It is telling you something important about where you are in this dynamic. Because a person who is genuinely secure in a relationship does not constantly feel the need to perform in order to keep it alive. They do not send the long message because they are terrified of being misunderstood. They do not welcome the disappearing with extra warmth because they are scared of the alternative. They do not chase the label because they already trust that what is real will become real. The exhausting work you are doing, the constant management, the careful calibration of everything you say and do, that is not love. That is anxiety dressed up as love. And I say that with complete compassion because I understand how it happens. When you care about someone and that person is emotionally unpredictable, your nervous system goes on high alert. It is trying to protect you by keeping you one step ahead, by managing everything so nothing goes wrong. But it does not work. It makes things worse, and it costs you enormously. What you need, underneath all of these specific behaviors, is a return to yourself, to the version of you that knows your own worth without needing someone else to confirm it, to the version of you that can let someone be who they are without collapsing, to the version of you that can hold space for a real connection without holding on to it so tight that you strangle it. That version of you is more attractive to an avoidant than anything you or could ever strategically do, because that version of you does not need them. And an avoidant can finally breathe around someone who does not need them. And when they can finally breathe, they often choose to stay. Now I want to talk about something else that most people completely miss when they are trying to navigate this. There is a massive difference between someone who is avoidant and going through their own internal journey toward openness and someone who is avoidant and using that as a permanent excuse to give you nothing while you give them everything. Both types exist, and you need to know which one you are dealing with. An avoidant who is worth your time will, over a long enough period, show some movement. Not perfection, not a complete personality transplant, but some movement, some moments of real vulnerability. Some evidence that they are capable of growth even if it is slow and halting. Some indication that they see you and value you even if they struggle to show it to the West. You would like. An avoidant who is not worth your time will stay completely static, will take what you offer and never move an inch closer, will use their attachment style as a get-out-of-jail-free card indefinitely, will make you feel like the problem is always you and never them. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Loving someone does not obligate you to wait forever. It does not obligate you to accept crumbs. It does not obligate you to keep shrinking yourself so that someone else can remain comfortable in their avoidance. You can love someone and also recognize that they cannot meet you. Both of those things can be true. And recognizing that is not giving up on them. It is not abandoning them. It is not being cruel. It is being honest. First with yourself and then with them. Some of you listening to this right now are in a situation that has gone on too long, where you have been patient and understanding and accommodating for so long that you have completely lost track of what you actually want and what you actually deserve. And I want to say this gently but directly. You deserve someone who shows up. That is not a high standard. That is the minimum. And if you are treating the minimum like a luxury, you need to look at that, because somewhere along the way, you convinced yourself that difficult was the same as deep, that unavailable was the same as mysterious, that having to work this hard just to be chosen was normal. It is not normal. It is painful, and you have been in that pain long enough. Let me bring this back to the practical, because I know that is what most of you need. If you want to have a real chance with an avoidant who is genuinely capable of growth, here is the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop trying to make them comfortable enough to love you and start being someone who is so engaged with their own life that loving you becomes the obvious thing to do. Stop managing the relationship and start living your life so fully that the relationship either grows to meet that life or reveals itself as something that cannot. Stop being afraid of losing them and start trusting that what is meant for you does not require this level of anxiety management. I know that is easier said than done. I know it does not happen overnight, but the direction matters, and right now a lot of you have been walking in the wrong direction for a very long time. So start today, not tomorrow, not after one more conversation, not after you send one more message explaining yourself. Today, what is one thing in your own life that you have been neglecting because you have been so focused on this person? Your friendships, your creative work, your health, your own growth. Go back to that thing. Not as a tactic, as a commitment to yourself. Because the most magnetic thing you can possibly be to an avoidant or to anyone worth being with is someone who is genuinely alive, genuinely full, genuinely not waiting to be chosen before they start living. Choose your self first and watch what happens. Everything I have shared with you today comes down to one core idea. You cannot love someone out of their avoidance. But you can be someone so grounded, so full, so genuinely secure in yourself that closeness with you starts to feel safe to them rather than threatening. That is not a guarantee. Some people are not ready. Some people will never be ready, and you have to make peace with that. But if there is a path to something real with an avoidant, it runs directly through you reclaiming yourself, not through you doing more, explaining more, giving more. Through you being more yourself, more alive, more rooted in your own worth. That is where this all starts and ends. And if this gave you something today, even one thing I want to know, drop the word avoidant in the comments. Tell me where you are at. Tell me what you are going through, because every single comment matters, and I read them. We are building something here, and we need your help doing it. We need 1,000 subscribers, and we are genuinely not there yet. So if you got value from this, subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and come back because there is so much more I want to share with you. You deserve clarity. You deserve a real connection. And you deserve to stop shrinking for someone who has not decided to show up yet. Go be the person you avoidant secretly needs you to be. Not for them, for you.